Mystics, welcome back to the podcast. Hey, if you are like me, you are dealing with a lot of questions right now. Questions about theology, questions about our country and nation, maybe even choices that we have to make. And how do you know if you're making the right choice or if you're doing the right thing? Are there things that can guide us in that? That's what we're talking about today on the podcast. It's a really interesting conversation. And as always, I promise if you listen all the way through, you will finish this feeling better than when you started.
This is a production of Pioneer Dream, celebrating 30 years of moving stories for corporate, nonprofit, and entertainment partners. Please help us keep the conversation going by rating, liking, and subscribing to this podcast. Thank you. Also, make sure to check out our other podcasts. Hope for Humans, funny, usable conversations to help change the world around you. And Got a Minute Mini Podcast, presenting funny stories and independent music, all in about 15 minutes. Now, here's Jay and Anjanette Webster.
Fellow Mystics, welcome back to the podcast. This is Jay and Anjanette Webster.
Hello. Now we know who we are.
Thank you for the official intro from our Evangeline Jane Webster announcer. Very great job.
Now we've been identified.
Yes.
This is it. This is us.
She did a great job with all that. Hey, I'm about to ask you an important question. The question is, are you right? And how do you know? But before we get into that, let me give you these quick announcements. This Friday is a very special Friday. It is our Dreamers Live event, and it's not just any Dreamers Live. What Dreamers Live is it, Anjanette?
Well, it's one of my favorite of the year. This is our annual Groundhog Party where we prep for Groundhog Day weekend, as we liked. We've extended
a whole
it.
Weekend.
It is very exciting. And I think I may have told you in the past that my dad has given me many nicknames. But one of my very favorites is he calls me the patron saint of minor holidays. And I love it.
You do like to celebrate a good holiday.
I do. With my personality type, any chance to be festive and forget about how hard life can be sometimes is fun. So we are celebrating the groundhog, which really doesn't mean anything except for we do some...
Well, we kind of treat it like the second New Year. So
That's
everybody
right.
puts on top hats and bow ties. They're all very cheap.
Yes.
And,
some people wear their fur coats if they have them, or fake furs.
costume jewelries and stuff.
But truth be told, most people just come as they are.
Right.
But some of us, I have a groundhog t-shirt and a top hat. So anyway, it's a fun time. We toast the groundhog. We will be having groundhog nog, which is very delicious, as well as a champagne toast to the groundhog the new year. So it should be a really fun time.
It's going to be a blast. And we're also going to do it at Ambler Hall, which is a first for us.
Yes.
It's a beautiful performing arts center down in downtown Bartlesville, just south of the RSU campus building.
Yeah, it's actually inside the OKM music offices. They have a really neat little venue.
I did send you 2 groundhog text messages today.
Oh, really? I have not checked.
One was with his picture of a groundhog, and he was holding a boombox, and it says, "Do you know what a groundhog's favorite music is?"
Oh, and what is it? The groundhog's favorite music?
It's underground indie. And then I said, "Do you know what the groundhog's favorite movie is?"
What is that?
It's Fast and Furious.
Like Furriest? Oh my gosh! Wow, that's bad.
The Fast and the Furriest. That's the groundhog.
That's really good. That sounds like a Brian Davis joke. Mr. Davis from Central Middle School.
Shout out to Brian Davis.
Yeah, I'll have to pass that along. That's good stuff right there.
Also, what you need to know in this exchange is that many of you are fans of one of our other podcasts. We have 2 others. There's the Got a Minute Mini Podcast, which pairs funny stories with independent music, which happens to be written by Anjanette, and she gives you the backstory, and it's all done within about 15 minutes. But there's another podcast that we have, which we refer to as the Dreamers Live podcast.
Right.
And that name is changing.
Whoa.
Bum, 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 bum.
We don't want anyone to get thrown off, so we should probably tell them what the new name is.
The new name of the podcast is Hope for Humans.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, it's great. So we just, the reason for the name change is because we've, that podcast, we kind of started out as an offshoot of what we do with Dreamers. And then we realized that people literally all over the world are listening to that podcast, and they don't have any connection to the Dreamers Live group.
Yeah.
And so if you're just scrolling your average podcast listing to say, what should I listen to next? Dreamers Live might not describe what that podcast is or what we do with it. And we thought, Hope for Humans is actually a lot more connected to what we do in any given moment. So they're just humorous conversations that might help you change your little world around you.
Yeah, I think you say hope for humans because humaning is hard, which I like. So hopefully that'll help more people find what we're doing. So
so anyway, be on the lookout for that. If you already subscribed to that podcast, don't be surprised if you see a name change and it's no longer. Dreamers Live podcast.
Gotcha. So be ready for it.
Hope for Humans.
Man, we're so ready. While we await the groundhog, we'll await the next Hope for Humans episode.
Just coming off of several snow days. In fact, we're still out of school today because of the snows and ice.
Yeah, a lot of family bonding. If everyone,
first, what you figure out
it was
about
real fun the first
2 days, maybe stretching into 3 days. 2 days is great, and then the third day, you're like, oh, I wish we'd have an extra day. Oh, we do. Great.
We do, yeah.
And then the fourth day is like, whoa, speaking of groundhog, here we go again.
Well, we had to take our daughter to work with us because, we went sledding on Monday. That was super fun. We were able to, get out of work, and then
that was the only way we could cure the unquenchable thirst for more snow days for our daughter was to bring her to the office with us. Now she's over it.
Now she's been to work with us twice, including today, and she's like, okay, I'm ready to go back to school.
Not loving it. And no, it's been great. And we have made a whole lot of fun memories. We did sledding, and I don't want to age myself, but it may be the first time I've sledded in maybe 4 decades. It's just a whole...
I don't remember ever sledding much. I mean, I do a couple times.
I think we took her sledding one other time, and I know we've owned sleds. Like I bought sleds for us as a family, and then after like 2 or 3 years of not being used ever, I just sold them in the garage sale until this year. I was like, that sled.
Yeah, but it was super fun. She met up with some of her friends, and we met up with some of the other parents.
She's 14, and then she said, I don't think I've ever been sledding before. And I thought, that can't be right.
I know. We're like, don't say that out loud. It makes it sound like terrible parents. We do other stuff. We had a good time. But alas, we must get back to our podcasts and stuff like that.
But enough about us.
I'm excited to talk about how I'm always right and how I know.
Are you right is the question.
Oh, what is the okay.
We're in a very interesting time. We joke a lot about this podcast kind of really being built off of growing up in the 80s and 90s, especially in the bedazzled belt buckle of the American Bible Belt.
Ooh, yes.
And it's a whole unique experience. And anyone who was part of that semi-evangelical or even fundamentalist movement, it was a lot.
It's intense. It was intense.
It's not all bad, and I don't want to cast shade on stuff, but there's some recovery that happens too. And it might not be a surprise that, a lot of people don't identify as Christian anymore that grew up in that era.
Yeah.
But within all that, so there's a whole lot of kind of that generation now coming of age, and they're all trying to make sense of what they used to believe, maybe what they believe now, what sticks and what doesn't stick, and all that stuff. And so there are a lot of conversations about even the way we translated the Bible and what words mean, what they really mean and what they don't mean, and there's a lot of conversation about even things where we're just having to guess. Because, in the Hebrew language, there's not a word for X, Y, or Z.
Sure.
And so you're really left to not so much translate the Bible, but interpret the Bible.
Sure,
Which is a big leap for a lot of us. And so, there's conversations about, hell, and is there really a hell?
Right.
Is there a reference for hell? Is there even a context?
Yeah. Is that what was meant
our
by
modern
that?
understanding of hell in the Hebrew culture and words and all that kind of stuff?
Well, let me tell you, I think about stuff like that 24/7.
I'm saying. No. And so then, then there's like
some deep stuff.
Yeah, and then there's conversations about really what does the death of Jesus mean, and what does atonement mean, and all that kind of stuff. And so, if you're in those circles at all, if you read contemporary Christian stuff at all, if you all those kinds of, or if you're just even reading the scriptures, there's a lot to kind of wade through. And so, for me personally, I find it both really, really intriguing because there's kind of like these little splinters in your brain that you kind of run over you say and recite these things again and again and again, and there's something in your brain going,
is that really?
Yeah. Is that really?
Certain fundamental truths that we were taught that, exactly.
And so then you kind of go back over it and you realize, a lot of people are having this conversation, and then a lot of people are saying, well, that's because these scriptures are just, whatever.
Well,
and so,
and I think the thing that people are afraid of, and this is how it was for me as well, but it's been sort of an evolution over time, I would say, for us.
Right.
But you're afraid if you start questioning anything or looking at it, that everything will unravel.
It's literally like tugging. It's really like tugging on the thread.
Yeah.
If I pull this thread, does everything fall apart?
And for those of us who were, raised, it was so intrinsically a part of who we were that it's hard to separate out how you might view things now or what you feel now. So so I think that's why some people don't ever pull that string at all, because it's scary.
Yeah.
And it is. But then, it's like the conversations we've had before. It's also awesome.
Yes, but you can see where, there are a lot of people
own what you.
There are a lot of people who still hold to kind of a fundamentalist view of things, and I get it in the sense that the black and white is pretty comforting. It's a lot easier to negotiate at some level. Just these people are going to hell, these people are not. And if you do these 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, if you sign the insurance policy, everything goes good.
So you're like, I'm
let's
safe.
Just do all that stuff. And you don't have to negotiate as much or contemplate as much, or you get into the weeds of things.
Yeah.
It's just, this is black and white. We just do this.
Yeah.
And, but yes, to me and to you and I in our conversations, there is in our estimation of it, I think, there's a tremendous amount of responsibility to freedom. So when you are kind of free thinking about certain things and you consider certain things, that opens a lot of stuff up. Like you're saying, it's amazing. I feel like a lot of weight lifted off of me for things I didn't understand before. And now that I get there, I'm like, oh, that's probably why.
Yeah.
That's why that splinter was in my brain, because it didn't quite fit. And then you pull that thing out. So, but then it starts to beg this question, because it can also be unsettling, because there's so many different camps, between all these different issues and things, and you're like, what is the right thing? What do I do with this?
Yeah.
What is right here and what is right there, and on and on and on, and what's right in different situations? I remember thinking about how you can just read through the Gospels, and between, just the one chapter and the next, there'll be things that seem contradicting. On one hand, you're doing these things like a light on the hill so everybody can see it. And another thing you're saying, go into a closet and don't let anybody see it.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody see what you're doing. Don't let anybody see the good you're doing, because that's between you and God. And then also make sure you see everybody sees what you're doing. And you're like, what do I do with that?
Which one is it? Yeah.
So to me, it says, well, how do you know what is right? How do you know what to do in that moment? How do you know how to filter through these conversations we're having now? And certainly the scriptures are important, but how do you know what to do with these things? And so I started thinking about that, and I was thinking about, thank God we do have this kind of personal connection, and even some people would say a feeling connection with the person of God. But to me, it's like I keep coming back to this thing that the Spirit of God is actually in us, lives in us. And it's also there, I think, as Paul says, as like a deposit, like a proof of these things that are going to come. Here's this, so you can know that there is really a next step. There really is this thing.
Like a down payment.
Yeah. And then I think about this thing, like we have referred to it as the shine or the ET light. So for me, I'm going through these conversations. I am, working out my own salvation with fear and trembling. And the guide for a lot of that is this light inside of me, this shine inside of me, this spirit inside of me. So when I get to these places, I can kind of be chill and at ease about it, because I trust the one that is in me. I trust this one I have a friendship with and a relationship with. But also I can slow down. I can kind of meditate in that question, and I can meditate in that moment and say, what are you saying here?
Yeah.
What is right here? Where is the shine in this conversation? And it may not be as clean or as clear as dogma and saying X, Y, or Z, but you can start to navigate, I think, a flow of some things.
Yeah, I think so.
And that's really helpful in this conversation for me.
Yeah, I think so too. What I was reminded of is the concept that the Holy Spirit, which if you have connected with God and believe in Him and ask for that, it's sort of the essence of who He is that comes to live within us, which is mind-blowing, but awesome. That it says that the Holy Spirit would serve as sort of like an advocate.
Yeah.
Which is, an advocate is someone who comes alongside you and guides you, I think, in what you're doing.
Yes.
Like I would be an advocate for your writing career. Any opportunity. Well, you're very talented.
Nice
yes, and you're cute.
Oh,
but
my gosh.
yeah, but no, the point being that I believe in what you're doing, and so I would try to even better an advocate though might be if you had someone else that that is a writer and had been through some things ahead of you and could sort of show you and advocate for you, sort of make a path for you.
Yes.
That's what it means to advocate for somebody. Like if you have a kid and you're going to school enrollment and you're going to advocate for them, you're going to look at knowing their interests, what they need, and what classes might be good for them. And you're going to say, hey, you might consider this. And so for the Holy Spirit to be an advocate, I think that's what it means. He's going to guide and show us. And if we stay connected, I know one of your favorite scriptures is remain in me and I'll remain in you.
Right.
If we stay together, I think we will be able to get a sense of those things.
Yes.
And I know that's been tough for us because we have been forced to, in a good way, and I'm thankful for it, look at the difficult questions and not be afraid. I remember growing up, again, not within my family, but in the larger system, anytime a question would be brought up, about something theological, it'd be like, oh, well, that'll all work out in the end. Or, well, we have answers for that. Or we don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
And so nobody was willing to, well, man, if you're a smart, I hate this term, but non-believer, or just, we'll say just a regular person that's seeking, why would I want to talk with you or come do something where I can't ask real questions?
Right.
We're just going to act like they don't exist.
Yeah.
And so it's very dishonest. And especially, I think, from probably our Generation X on, we're not going to take that shit. Yeah. We want to discuss it. Yes. I mean, that's the point. We want to know, why not talk about it? We can do it.
I think there are a couple things here that are really great to remember from what you're saying. Mm-hmm. One is, we, like you said, we can get a little nervous about this, about tugging on the thread and thinking, oh gosh, where is this going to go? Mm-hmm. But to me, I think, if you're God, you're thinking, oh, well, this person really cares. This person really wants to get. This person wants to know. This person wants answers. This person wants to get to truth about me.
Yeah.
This person wants to ask questions about me. And there is I think it's a proverb that says something to the effect of, it's to the glory of God to conceal a matter. It's to the glory of kings to seek it out.
To seek it out, yeah.
And so there is this principle of there are these things. Some of them are, as David says, too wonderful for me.
Yeah.
And they're kind of,
too heady.
Like your dad would say, they're kind of hidden behind this curtain of things. And some of them are too much for us in this moment, for where we live in history and time, also for our limited intellectual skill set as human beings. But some of those are also in the right moment in time. They do kind of get revealed. And like you and I have talked about, it's like there are ideas and there are concepts that in moments of history, it's like their time has come, and they show up in all these different things. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. And so, first of all, what the church looks like now is a relatively new thing. And even some of the principles that we hold to, in terms of heaven and hell and all that kind of stuff, those are all fairly new concepts for the church since its inception 2,000 years ago. It's stuff that we've kind of adapted and kind of moved on, but it hasn't always been that way. The language hasn't always revealed that. And even the concepts, the illustrations we use for that have not always been around. This is something that we're doing now based on the translation, or actually interpretation that we're doing now. So that's one thing. And then also there is this confidence that we have, from our friend and brother Jesus, who says, that, look, if you ask, I'll answer you. If you knock, the door will be open. If you seek, you're going to find it. So there's this confidence of Jesus saying in advance, hey, you're not going to know everything, and you're not going to have all this. And that's why there's such, all the Proverbs and Psalms, there's just such a huge thing about saying, seek God for wisdom. Seek it more than you would gold or silver or riches or anything else. Ask, and He'll give you wisdom. Ask, and He'll give you insight and understanding. So it's already the nature of things that a lot of this is going to be hidden. And it does not just glorify God, I guess, that we want to know these things, but I think it's an affectionate thing. I think it's a loving thing to say, I'd like to know more about you. I'm trying to figure this thing out. Will you help me?
Yeah.
And some of that stuff is hidden, but it's not a fearful thing. It's not a challenge thing. It's not a walking away thing, as much as saying, I love this part of me. I don't understand this. I want to know more.
Don't you think it's awesome when our daughter will come to you and say, because she shares an interest in like film and video production.
Right.
She's already a little director and producer.
Yeah.
She'll say, hey, Dad, tell me, what camera you used on this.
Right.
And what was that a dolly shot? That's cool. And you guys talk shop. Like, is that not your favorite thing?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Or even just conversations we have about music, like she'll bring up something about bands or that person or that person. And just being able to have that conversation with her and the fact that she's interested in it and that I have some information and some knowledge she doesn't have yet.
Yeah.
And that I get to give that to her.
And she's asking about
joy.
it. And you end up connecting on that. So
absolutely.
I think it's great. And the interesting thing about being afraid to pull that thread, that your whole, there was a time for me, I held on to what I believe, although it has evolved and there have been transitions and different things, but that's very much a fabric of how my soul is wired. I'm very dependent on God as my friend. And like we used to joke, that line in the Peanuts special in The Great Pumpkin, which is our favorite of all the Charlie Brown, where she says, Linus says, if the great pumpkin's not real, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Yeah. But so for me, I was like, listen, my whole world's going to come crushing down if I were to find out, this isn't real. But what's interesting is when I was able to push past the fear, because it really is love that was leading and guiding, and love for other people.
Right.
I feel closer to God.
Yes.
And freer.
Right.
After having looked at those things with him in my heart. And then I also feel a lot freer in my relationships with other people.
Yeah.
Those who would call themselves believers and those who don't believe yet, or whatever you want to say.
Yes.
It's cool because I'm not afraid to talk about them with those things.
Yeah.
About those things with them.
And we've talked about this.
So we're closer.
We've talked about this a lot in the past on other episodes, and I'll just run through it really quickly that, we were having drinks with a friend last week, and this conversation came up, and it was really enjoyable to kind of recount this with him, because for us, the practice of Christianity has opened everything to us, opened my mind to new understanding and new considerations and new thoughts and new embraces. So for a lot of people, religion closes them.
Yeah.
It's us versus them. It's us or them. And we are, quote, shutting the world out and all that stuff.
Do this, don't do that.
Protecting ourselves constantly. And we're insulating the entire time as if what we have is so fragile that it's so easily taken away from us. Or so that's one approach. But for us, the practice of Christianity has totally opened up my heart and mind and opened a brand new world and revealed things that I would never have considered likely on my own.
Right.
So in this conversation with our friend last week, I was relating to her the same thing we talked about on a couple episodes of the podcast, but where, like 20 years ago, we were in a little different spot in the world. And even though our church, with that your dad was the pastor of, was not technically fundamentalist. We grew up in a fundamentalist part of the country, and we were surrounded by a lot of fundamentalist media and everything else. And so, at that moment, it was kind of the first kind of burgeoning part of this conversation about, well, what do we do, as Chris Kattan would say, what do we do with the homo gay?
What?
Saturday Night Live. Why does everybody say I'm the homo gay?
Oh, and he was like, I am the mango.
I am the mango. Why does everybody think I'm the homo gay?
Can you say to a mango, stop being a mango for a moment?
No, you cannot. And so anyway, 20 years ago, I was having a conversation with your dad, and I was had just kind of become part of the leadership at the church. And so we were having this conversation. I was saying, and I can't answer this for us, but I said, I just know that somehow we're going to be judged or defined on how we respond to the conversation of homosexuality.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the answer to it at that time, if I'm being transparent. And I said, I don't know what the answer to that is. Either we're going to have to take a stand, or we're going to have to open some things up, or we're going to have to do that.
Well, and that came up in the converation with a friend.
Yeah.
Those are the questions people want to ask.
And I said, as opposed to, and so here's what happened. I just said, as we try to so frequently, I don't need you to be who I want you to be, God. I need you to be who you are and bring me along.
Yeah.
Let me, match my thoughts to you, and we'll go from there. And I said, I don't know what to do with this. And then slowly but surely, over a course of about 3 or 4 or 5 years, it felt like everywhere I went, I was in connection with or relationship with people who happened to be homosexual. I wasn't seeking that thing out. It's just we would go to a party, and then when I'm having a conversation, you find yourself with this person. Or we ended up going to Chicago for several months and working with some stuff, and we had a very good friend there who was gay. And then, on and on. So all these different venues. I was meeting your dad for a beer one afternoon, and so I said, well, let's go to the Solo Club because no one will be there. And I got there early before your dad, and there was a friend of mine at the bar, and he had just broken up with his boyfriend. And then the entire hour and a half that we were there was all about Greg. It was all about this guy. And you just could not deny this love that was coming through me. Not just my love for him, but this other divine love that was coming down and through me for this person, that he would know he's loved and that God loves him and is not mad at him, is for him, and all that kind of stuff. And so that's the ET light. That is the spirit that lives in you that's kind of giving its seal of approval, the yes. So in all these things, in all these conversations we're having, and it might not always be instant, but over a series of time, these things that we wrestle with, either there's a grace to just trust and let them go, or there's this sense that this thing is kind of guiding you to something. And I, you and I have really grown to trust that. We have a long time experience with that. So I want to encourage people that yes, it's okay to ask these questions. It's okay to go to this place because I think it honors God that we love him so much and want to know, and he's not afraid of that stuff.
It's also okay to say, I don't know.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's it. I remember those early conversations that we had in some of our trips to Chicago.
Right.
Because in this particular case, the landlord where we were renting that brownstone apartment was gay and had a partner, and he was also going through ministerial training for, I can't remember which denomination, but anyway, he
not Baptist.
Nope, it was not Baptist, and it was not Assembly of God. I can tell you that. But anyway, no, it was interesting, and he wanted to have these conversations with us, and this was like 20 years ago, and we were like, "Woof, I do not know what to do with this." And but we were also okay to say, "Hey, I don't know. I mean, I don't know." Those are things that we all have to feel God in on our own and search out. And so he was wanting us to solve, really the truth is, now that I look back, he was just wanting acceptance. And we did give him that and love.
He did want some understanding that he was okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was a big part of it for him. And so even though he had, even though it was important enough to him and he had enough faith and belief that he wanted to be part of clergy, that he wanted to help people in that relationship, still, I think, based on his life experiences, he still felt insecure in God's love. So even though he was literally a trained professional, he was still looking for somebody else to say, "Hey, you're okay.
Well,
hey, you really are loved
he was
by
also
God."
a medical doctor. It was pretty interesting, an MD. But that's kind of where we started to. But it was okay. I think when you get in those situations with people, the key is being open and loving and saying, I'm not really for sure. I don't know. I mean, does anybody really know exactly any of these things? But being willing to express God's love at all times and be open, I guess.
The thing that's really, I think, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but the thing that's kind of special about this idea of the Spirit living in you and trying to get a sense of where his approval is and what his yes is on things is that oftentimes it requires us to get quiet and still and to kind of get a sense of that, to kind of get a sense of, what are you saying here? Are you for this? Is this something you're on? Is this something you're doing? What are you saying here? What are you doing here?
Yeah.
And that also is very intimate. And what an amazing thing that is God's design for us. Yes, there are the scriptures, and many of those are clear and all that kind of stuff. They don't take a lot of interpretation, but a lot of our lives are based on, if we let them, instead of being rules, instead of being regulations, which are comforting because they're boundaries and because they're square and you just fit in the box and this is what you do. And yet all the time, God is looking for intimacy with us.
Yeah.
And these things require intimacy from us, which is, in my opinion, by design.
Yeah.
I don't want our daughter to know me from afar. I don't want her to know me by a series of rules or regulations. I want her to talk to me.
Yeah.
I want her to ask questions. I want her to have understanding. I want her to come and say. And, so I think if something ever happened to me, yes, she would have all those other things I've tried to teach her, or things I've said, or the rules I've set up for her in the house. But most of what she would have with me is relationship.
Yeah.
Most of what would be missing for her is our connection together and our relationship together.
Yeah.
And I think that is the sweetness and love that God has for us, that He keeps us coming to Him so that we can have this exchange together, so we can have this conversation.
Yeah. So in essence, you can grow together and grow closer together. And, when you look back at Jesus' life, a lot of times he was being questioned by the religious people at the time. A lot of the people that listen to this podcast grew up in the church. And so you guys know, like the Pharisees, they were like the most religious, super religious people.
Yes.
That's what their whole life was based on. They would try to trap Jesus and question him on these certain things that he was demonstrating by doing a little bit differently, quite a bit differently than the tradition.
Right.
And it's like Jesus would, sometimes it's kind of funny when you read it, sort of evade what they were saying, the specifics of what they were saying. So they would say, well, who am I supposed to love?
They wanted the equation.
Yeah. And he would say, love God as you love yourself with all your heart, and love your neighbor.
Right.
So they would come back with another trick.
To justify themselves.
To justify themselves.
Right.
Well, who's your neighbor?
Yeah.
And he would be like, well, who isn't? I mean, the point is, every time it would always go back to your heart, to what was inside of you, to that intimacy.
Yeah.
People are always looking for lists and, these things that, please tell me how I can do this exactly, and I'm going to follow it. And he's like, no, but what's in your heart about this? And
it reminds me of Jesus' teaching where he says, you study the scriptures because you think by them you have earned eternal life, and yet you refuse to come to the very one that the scriptures are about. And that is so it for us as humans, as a species. We love the process. We love the to-do. We love the work. And yet here's the one that this is supposed to be about. It's like killing yourself for a birthday party and putting the birthday party together and getting the gifts and the decorations and abusing the person whose birthday it is in the process. So
we all might have had a couple birthdays like that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The whole thing is this thing is supposed to be celebrating this person.
Yeah, this is leading.
I want to celebrate this human being. And yet I'm going to beat the shit out of them and getting everything ready and putting this house together and getting the gifts together and all this stuff. And so, that whole thing. So here it is. We have these scriptures, and we have these corporate services, and we have this music, and we have this media, and we have all these things, and we love it.
Love it.
But it really may or may not have much to do with the person this is supposed to be about.
Because Jesus wants to know why you did what you just did.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, that's it. I mean, even the whole concept, if you think about it.
It's like non-alcoholic wine all of a sudden. You're like, you're missing the point.
Yeah, you are missing the point. I mean, even the very idea, I mean, it's not as easy as, don't murder.
Right.
And so Jesus looks in the heart, he says, have you wanted to murder someone? Then you pretty much done the same thing.
In your heart.
And you're like, damn it, that is really hard. But that's the thing. But that's also the beauty of it. And I feel like in our spiritual journeys, that was gross. But you know what I'm saying? Spiritual experiences, both individually and together. Because a lot of times you and I will be... I've noticed wrestling with certain things, and we haven't really talked to the other about it because we're like, I don't know, that's weird. I don't know what is. And then we finally talk about. A lot of times we're on the same page with it, but it's cool to see and to know that it's okay that you're loved to explore and to look at those things. And I think in the end, what it's come down to a lot for us, and I think this even came up when we were having coffee, whatever, with our friend last week. Mm-hmm. There are certain things that we feel God's love so strongly for other people in, that if loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. And that's a joke, you know, from that old song, but that's it. Like, if a lot of times that is our guide, is the love and the compassion that we feel towards something, especially when, I mean, even talking specifically about our friends that are gay feeling God's love and overwhelming compassion and acceptance. Well, am I going to walk away from that conversation and be like, well, God may accept you, but I don't, or whatever that is? No, you know what
I've always tried to live by? I've always tried to live by this, and I made this up, but love never fails. That's just a personal accent.
Oh, do you made that up?
That's just a personal accent.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, but it's true.
Yes, you're right.
And, then there's a lot of other people that we know, love, and are still friends with, of course, that would say, well, if you're loving someone, that's great, but you have to lead them to the truth. Well, let me tell you something. Yeah, they're not asking.
Right.
They're not asking you for the specifics on, tough love. Love them. Just love them first, and let's see where that goes. And if we ever have any chance of being a positive influence or being a conduit of God's love at all, it has to start with 100% love and acceptance. And then, maybe down the line we'll get to some hard truths. Right. I'm really not for hard truths. That doesn't sound fun. But
I think this thing about letting this light, this spirit in you, guide you. As John says several times that Jesus is the light, which I think is an amazing name. Jesus is the light, the one who reveals, the one who shines, the one who brings insight, brings understanding.
Illuminates.
And also that light is life. And they're together, they're synonymous for John, that this light is life. It is life-giving. It is life abundant. And so trusting this sense we have inside is getting more and more comfortable getting quiet and saying, where are you in this?
Yeah.
Where is the light in this? Where is the shine in this? And not supplying the answer to our own question, but just giving ourselves time.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I find, even in that process, it's still difficult for me, or maybe I'm not quite certain of what it is I'm sensing in a given moment. I don't want to take a risk on supplying my own answer or just kind of feeling or saying what I want to happen.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of times where I take what I'm sensing or what I'm feeling and I go to people that I really trust, which is a very small group. It's not like I don't shop this to
No. This is inner circle of people
you and I have conversations. Yeah. I have conversations with your dad because we're very close, but I also really, really trust him. He doesn't need to say what I need to hear.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to disagree. He has, and not only that, but he's got, whatever it is, 30 plus years, 50 years of experience in this, community. And so he knows a lot about that. So he's seen a lot. So, depending on what it is I'm kind of working through, there are different people I could go to.
Yes.
But sometimes just having that conversation out loud with another human is really illuminating.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I think it's important, in essence, friends that we have, and it would be definitely like an inner circle. I mean, the people listening, you probably have a person or two that you feel like you could broach some of these topics with. It's and like we said earlier, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to say, hey, this has just been something I've been thinking about a lot. Like, do you ever think about this? And having the conversation and see where it goes. Yeah. You'd be interested to know that a lot of people are having the same questions, but they're afraid to talk to someone else about it, right?
Yes.
And so you may have to be the first to have that conversation with your wife and say, what are your thoughts on this? Yeah. Or a friend. But it's in community, in friendship, in saying things out loud. A lot of times that we feel God will come in the conversation and guide, which is really cool. You're a natural thinker. And you've always been like that. You're also very fun, but you're really a philosopher, a thinker, a writer. And I am a talker.
That's what pays so well.
It is, though. Yes, definitely. And I'm a talker and a chatter and a doer. But no, I think about things too. But for me, a lot of times in my mind, I can be, talk with God about things. And there are some moments I'm not as gifted at that as you are. For me, a lot of times I almost have to talk through it to sort of sort through my feelings. It's like a personality difference. You could have this whole conversation in your mind with God and make some notes and then write about it, which is good. You should talk with other people about it as well. But for me, and I think probably for the other 50% of personality types, that comes out. That's one of the reasons I love having these conversations. even if no one were listening, it doesn't matter because we get to talk about this stuff. Because it's not that I'm not thinking about it. I am. But it's in speaking with somebody about it and working through it. That helps me work out my own salvation with fear and trembling.
Yeah.
And I think it's good, We don't have to do it on our own.
I think we can use this thing where the Spirit, the light lives in us, which is so important, and kind of getting a sense of things, whether it's, we're in a difficult, I'm not revealing anything. We're in a difficult spot right now in human history.
What?
And
everything's going great in the world.
and and you and I have spent a lot of time trying to figure out what we can do that would add to, what could we do that would help? What can we do on a personal level, a local level, a national, international level, any of those things? What do we do? And it's very difficult because there's a lot of impulse in a moment where, there's passion or there's hurt or there's emotion and you think, just say this, do this.
A lot of fear, yeah.
And even this weekend, I was really struggling with some things and I was hurting. There's stuff that's happening in the country, and it's not removed. It's not distant. It's as a member of this tribe, it really affects you. It really hurts, and just like if family members were hurt, you'd want to you ask yourself, what can I do to make this better? So in this case, you're like, what do I do here?
Yeah,
and so. In that conversation, there are no less than probably 1,000 things you can do. And that's why, to me, these two steps of saying, okay, where's the shine? What is the right thing? I can do any of these things. All these things, as Paul would say, are permissible, but they're not all beneficial.
Okay, yeah.
I can do any of these things.
Yeah, but what would you have me do now?
Yeah. Where's the shine? What's the thing you're in doing? What is just scratching the poison ivy and spreading it, and then what's the thing that might actually help somebody?
Yeah.
And this having that spirit inside you, or the shine, really does help. But then sometimes, because of my own emotions and because of my own intellect and everything else, it might be really difficult to get that sense. And so that's where going to someone and saying, this is what I'm feeling, and I was thinking about X, Y, Z, which I did with you this weekend, and just having that conversation is really, really helpful. And you do kind of get a sense, either based on saying it out loud, maybe for the first time, or by somebody else's response. You start seeing, okay, maybe that doesn't work.
Well, no, I was just laughing because I remember it was a long snow in time.
Yes.
But it was pretty funny, and there were all these things going on politically, and you do pay more attention to that than I do. Yeah. I am not really able to process it. And
it was pretty inescapable this week.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It kind of just makes me, I don't know, non-functional. So I'll be like, don't tell me unless. But anyway, but you had an idea of something that we could maybe do to help. And I initially, I said no. It included like a Facebook post of certain, I said no. I was like, no, we're not going to do that. And you're like, okay, that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
I knew your motivation was right. But I was like, that does not seem like the right thing to do. That's why we have each other and community and relationship.
But it also brings up this other thing that I think is helppful, that I started considering after that conversation. So I think there are three things that we can kind of do in this season. And this first thing is this, is what we talked about, that the Spirit lives in you. So you say, where's the shine? Where's the light? What are you saying?
Where do I see God doing
trying
right
to get
now?
quiet, trying to get intimate, and saying yes or no, whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's, your dad taught me this about 100 years ago, where you're considering something and it's almost like you physically emulate it. Okay, I could A
on this one hand,
or I could do B, and so I'm physically holding up my right hand as A, and I'm physically holding up my right hand as B, and I'm kind of weighing it, and you kind of in the physicality of that and applying yourself to that. A lot of times you kind of get a sense, this is the shine, this is this one here. So there's that option, and that we've talked about, and then there's this thing of talking to people you trust, and then there's this other thing, which we can call kind of play it out. Okay, if you do that, if you say that, if you confront that, if you can post that,
what will the result be?
What's the play out of that?
Yeah. What do you want to see?
Yeah, where does that thing go once you do that?
Yeah.
And you just wait on that for a minute and say, okay, I go to their house and I tell them, "You are a son of a bitch." Okay, that's going to feel good in the moment.
You could just text
that's
them.
Going to be, that's going to be the scratch, on the poison ivy. But,
right.
But then what?
How does that play out?
What happens 5 minutes later?
Yeah.
What happens 10 minutes later?
You never see that friend again. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, and then what is probably the easiest way to say it. And then what?
And then what?
Yeah. So you do that, you say that, you invest that, you pay for that, you buy that, you watch that, you go to that place, and then what? And that's such an interesting conversation, because if you can't get to a place of light or life in the and then what, then
probably not a good idea.
Maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe it's not a good choice to make in that moment.
Yeah, for sure. Going back to the conversation that we got to have with a friend last week, and we've had a lot of conversations like this. Mm-hmm. When you're not afraid for people to talk with you about spiritual matters, and you're not protecting theology, but you're just hanging out one friend to another. It's interesting because we spent all of our time as young evangelicals hoping to have these conversations with people about Jesus and who he was. But because we were so bought and sold in this mold, no one would ever approach us about any of that. Well, now...
at that moment, there was so much pressure to get people to sign the insurance policy. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So it was hard to have a conversation without that weight on it.
Yes. Well, I am responsible for their eternal salvation right now.
Right.
That's a lot of pressure, over fries or whatever. But we have these conversations all the time now.
Yes.
And what's interesting is I think it's because we're open and we come knowing our own lack and and we're just there and people talk about stuff and in a real open way. We're like, it's cool. I mean, if you want that to happen in your life, it's this unconditional love and acceptance,
right?
And just being real with people that earns their trust, I guess. Right. So it's pretty interesting. It's like the opposite of what we thought.
It is, but I think...
I'm going to say, I don't know, so let's talk about it.
Well, I think that also, as you and I got to, several episodes ago, I think the issue has been, too, that I think we've discovered that we really do love people and we love them beyond the task. And so that's changed, I think, our focus and our, and our plan there. But I think if we're going to leave people with something today, I think it's...
What might we say to encourage people today?
I want you to know that you're not the only one having these conversations
no. Everybody,
or these
people are thinking
questions
about this stuff,
or whatever. And just know that's okay. And not only that, I think it's very sweet and endearing and loving to God personally that you have that and you want to know that. And so take that weight off you, or if anybody's making you feel, or if you're making yourself feel guilty about that.
Oh, I can guilt myself real good.
Take that off there. And then two, that's, I think we can leave you with these three things you can try, which is to pay attention to the light that's in you.
Yes.
And what that light is saying. I think it's, it's trusting the people around you and having those conversations with them and getting insight with them. And then I think it's three, it's and then what? Whatever it is you're considering, whatever it is you're looking at, like when we've been honest about even these conversations about faith and saying, okay, what happens if I walk away from this? What happens if I just decide I just made all this up?
Yeah.
Okay, and then what? What does that look like? What do you have to turn your back on in your life and your back history and all the things that you've experienced? You've got to turn your back on all that and say, well, I was just making that up, or that wasn't really real.
Yeah.
Well, that's the and what, So
I like that and what. That's good. Yeah. And then what? Yeah.
And then what?
No, it's good. It's good stuff.
Well, and then what for us is Dreamers on Friday.
Right. The Groundhog Party.
Yeah.
The Groundhog doesn't really ask deep theological questions.
It's got a pretty simple existence.
Yeah.
It's light or shine.
That's right.
Shade or shine. Let's do this thing.
That's right. What are we going to do?
Right.
No, it's a silly, fun party, but come.
But it's a lot of fun.
It is. And we always talk about something that is uplifting, usually with each other, and it's a good time. So you'll be glad you came. But this was good today.
Yes,
I like
it.
Yeah. Go talk to somebody about some of this.
Continue the conversation.
Don't be afraid. Yeah, continue to talk about it. And hey, a lot of you know us, and we'll have coffee with you.
Yeah.
Talk about stuff and say, we're not for sure, but let's talk about it.
Okay,
it's good.
Mystics. Until next time, we will see you then, and peace out.
All right. See you guys soon.
Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode. And remember, continue this conversation with someone you know. This is Pioneer Dream.